bookaholics, this is Isabel and welcome to another video. So today I'm going to be explaining how I rate and review my books. When I first started reading books, I never actually took the time to rate and review them. I just read and didn't really give it a thought. But after I started BookTube, I made a Goodreads account and I started really considering how I wanted to rate my books. And at first I was using the Goodreads. So for how Goodreads rates, 1 star is did not like it, 2 stars it was okay, 3 stars liked it, 4 stars really liked it, and 5 stars it was amazing. I used this for a while, but after I kept reading more and more books, I had a lot of 5-star books. And when I compared them, I'm like, this one does not compare to this one. So I really started to consider how I wanted to rate my books. So there's a lot of consideration to put into rating a piece of written work. First, there's how it makes you feel. And then there's the purpose and the plot of the overall book. There's the writing to consider. Another consideration is characterization. The next thing I like to consider is whether it's relatable. This doesn't always apply to every single book. Those are all the things I put together when I want to rate a book. I just want to go into more depth of those and explain how I come up with my ratings. So the first one is how a book makes me feel. So in this way, a book is usually meant to make you feel something, whether that's a book that makes you really mad, or a book that makes you really sad, or makes you really happy, whether maybe a book makes me feel absolutely nothing. All those considerations are put into when I rate a book. So if I don't really feel much to the characters or to the plot or to anything regarding the book, that really lowers my rating of the book. If it makes me mad or if it makes me sad, I really put that in consideration because that's the writing. For example, Moxie made me so angry, but angry in a good way. It was meant to make me feel things. This book follows a school that's very, very sexist, and the main character in here is really trying to fight that. When I was rating this book, I rated the fact that it made me so mad sometimes. Just the dialogue, the writing, and everything put into here made me feel those emotions, and that's what a book is meant to do. On the other hand, Ship It made me angry in a bad way because I didn't really care for the character in here. The decisions she was making wasn't justified very well, and just the conclusion and everything that went in here, it really didn't solve what this character was doing. It didn't justify what she was doing, and how the other characters in this book tried to justify all the things she did really made me mad because the purpose of this book was not really executed well because of how everything was resolved in here. I really think a book, if it's supposed to have a purpose or they're supposed to make a point and that point isn't executed well, or if it isn't executed at all, or if it causes more of a hurt to other people who are reading it, that really brings down my rating. So this one actually made me really mad in a bad way, and it shows in my rating where I gave it 1 star. So the next thing I take into consideration is plot and purpose. So plot and purpose I put together because the plot usually leads to some kind of purpose for why this book was written. Whether that purpose is to make someone happy, like a romance novel, the purpose is for escapism or to just have a good time. That's the purpose of a romance. So if the purpose of that romance is executed well, that makes it a higher book. If the purpose of the book is to create thought or to educate and the plot executes that well, that's a reason why I'd give it a higher rating. So for example, The Hate You Give. The Hate You Give's main purpose was to bring awareness to what's going on in the Black Lives Matter, and Angie Thomas did that very well in this book. The purpose was to create thought, to change people's minds and how they think about Black Lives Matter and the reason why it's such a big issue. The Honeymooners by Christina was executed well because the purpose of it was a romance. It was meant to make you feel very joyous and happy, and it was just meant to give you a good time. So that really helped rate it higher in my books as well. On the other hand, my favorite Half Night Stand by Christina brought it down a lot because the plot was to have a fun time, but honestly, this just made me angry because this book follows pretty much a catfishing idea, and it's between best friends, and I just hated that so much. Like, she was just thinking it was a joke, but it wasn't a joke. So this book really got me really angry, and I really didn't enjoy it. So that really brought it down, because the purpose of this was to have a good time. I was wanting to have a good time, and it wasn't giving me a good time. Another one is Forbidden by Tabitha Suzuma. I couldn't quite find the purpose in here, because sometimes I felt like it was romanticizing incest. Other times I thought it wasn't. But I couldn't really get a clear definition on that, because the plot just was kind of muddled. I feel like the author was trying to bring a purpose to here, but it really wasn't executed well. The ending was very anticlimactic, and it just actually made me hate this book more, because nothing was resolved. It was more like, oh, if you have incest, you're going to die. Like, that's kind of the sense that I got from this book. And that's not quite the purpose I feel like the author was doing, and I don't think it was executed well, so the plot and the purpose in here was not greatly done, so that brought my rating down a lot. So the next thing I take into consideration is writing. So the writing of a book really dictates how the plot aligns with the feelings you feel. That made no sense. The writing of a book really dictates how you're going to enjoy it, because if you don't understand it, or if you're not getting any feelings from it, that really hurts the book itself. So for example, Vicious by VE Schwab was written so well. Just like the dialogue, the characterization, everything in here really made the book so good, and I absolutely loved it, and I'm just impressed by how VE Schwab just put everything together in here, and it was just executed so well. And that was mainly with the writing. The writing was beautiful, the writing was fantastic, and I absolutely loved it. Another example of this is Scythe by Neal Shusterman. Neal Shusterman is able to write in a way that everything was revealed in a way that you were surprised by it. Like, some books are written in a way that you can expect what the ending is going to be. You can expect what's going to come. Neal Shusterman surprised me every single time, and that is a talent. That is not just something you come across. That is purpose. It is the writing and how he was able to write this in a way that the readers couldn't predict what was going to happen, and I loved it. Example of this that the writing isn't very well done would be the Flatshare by Beth. This one, the writing was very well done at the beginning, and then once it started getting to the romance, you can see how maybe the author was having a hard time negotiating between these two parts in this book, and that really hurt it for me. I really enjoyed the first part where it was kind of them not being together, but then once they got together, the writing and everything going on just kind of changed for me. Like, it just wasn't as fun. I wasn't enjoying it, and I think part of that is that maybe she focused more on them being apart, but then once they actually met and everything started moving towards romance, it started to fall apart. And that's mainly with the writing. Another thing that I take into consideration when rating my books is characterization. So characters are the bulk of what makes a book great, because you are following these characters. You're supposed to feel sympathy for them, or you're supposed to cheer for them. You're supposed to love them. So if a character isn't developed well, or if you're not able to really relate to them, or if you don't like them, that really hurts a book, unless that book is meant for you to hate them. If a character is done well, you can definitely still love a book whether you are meant to like the character or not. But if that characterization isn't done well, it really hurts how I rate a book. For example, The Seven Husbands and Evelyn Hugo by Jenkins Reid. This book follows a character who can be very unlikable, but in a way that you absolutely love to follow them. And that is one thing that Jenkins Reid is fantastic at. She really makes you think about the character because she develops them so well. She really shows their flaws, but really shows their strength as well, that you're able to really relate and you're really able to love them so much. And I loved Evelyn Hugo, even though she made so many mistakes, even though she had so many things that she did that was kind of iffy, you still really love her. And that is just such a great characterization. And it's not just Evelyn Hugo's character, also the journalist. Like, she was able to dive into these characters so well, and I absolutely loved it. On the other hand, A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. Just between the first book and this book, Tamlin changed so much, and there's a bit of a explanation to that, but not to the extent that he goes to in this book. And it really makes you hate him, and honestly it really made me hate this book because there's a line between making someone abusive for plot. And that's what this one really did for me. I felt like she made Tamlin more abusive to make her run to Rysand, and I absolutely hated that. I don't think a character should change for plot, and I really don't think an abusive relationship should be used to progress plot, and I really didn't like that. So characterization definitely impacts how I like a book, and this one definitely did that. Another thing I like to take into consideration is relatability. So this doesn't apply to every book, as I said, but relatability really does help bring up a review. For example, Fangirl. I was able to relate to this so well because I was in university when I read this. I was able to relate to the main character here because she had a hard time connecting to other people, had a hard time getting out of her comfort zone and interacting with others. So I really loved following her and just relating to her so well, and that really made Fangirl so much better for me, and I feel like a lot of people feel the same way towards this book. There are many reasons why I give books either 5 stars, or I give them 3 stars, or if I give them 1 star. If I give a book a 1 star, it's because I really didn't care for anything that went on in it. The writing wasn't very well done, the characters weren't really enjoyable, the plot and purpose wasn't really executed well, and just all those put together really made it a 1 star. A 2 star is where it has some points to it. There was either maybe it was written very well but everything else wasn't done well. Maybe it made me feel a few things but not much. 3 stars is a bit higher, so maybe I enjoyed the plot and the characters, but the writing wasn't very well done. It didn't really make me feel anything. So that really gives like a 3 star. 4 star is definitely when I really enjoy it and I just have so much fun with it, but there's like something in there that just wasn't quite hitting me. And then 5 stars is when it like hits all points. This is when it's written very well, the characters are awesome, the purpose was executed well, and just everything about it I just absolutely loved. I'm hoping this all made sense. I'm hoping you guys were able to follow me and you can see how I rate books. Let me know down below your thoughts on how you rate books. If you agree with some of mine or don't agree, let me know down below. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't yet, and hit the notification bell so you know whenever I post another video, and I will talk to you guys later in another video. Bye!